The San Jose Sharks fall 4-1 to the Dallas Stars on what can only be described as a sloppy start. We'll get to that and more after this. But first, if you want to be a part of the show and join the Chomp-versation, chat with us and fellow Sharks fans on the page or the socials. Check us out on the YouTube chat, on that X, Instagram, Facebook, Threads, the Reddit, the Discord, and all the shenanigans going on behind the scenes at the TikToks. Check out all of that and more at tealtownusa.com. And if you want to help support the pod, at tealtownusa on the Venmo machine keeps us ad-free. Well, I'm happy to be joined by my fellow cohort, Mr. Tyler. How you doing, Tyler?
I am doing well. How are you doing today, Mr. Eric Landy?
I'm doing okay. Honestly, I feel like I was wanting to have a good clean game from the Sharks tonight. I was like, okay, you know what? These guys are going to come back with a little bit of some piss and vinegar in the game because of the just horrible, horrible game that they played against Washington. And unfortunately, that was not to be. It was kind of a little bit more of the same, to be quite honest. I mean, maybe not as bad in that first period because the outcome was a little different. But quickly, what's your broad strokes on the game tonight, Tyler?
I mean, it's certainly an improvement from last game. That's saying that the bar is on the floor, but yeah, I mean, the best thing that could be said about this game is that the majority of it was kind of just low impact. There wasn't a huge amount going on. Pretty much after that first period, the Dallas Stars did not produce much, so that's nice. But unfortunately, neither did San Jose. So
Yeah, well, let's just kind of get going off on it then, right? The San Jose Sharks unfortunately do not score the first goal. The Stars, with Robertson on the power play, and with assist by Wyatt Johnson and Mikko Rantanen. Now, the goal was really, I mean, it was awesome. That shot from that corner spot, just picking it right on Askey. There's really nothing he could do there. However, what I will say about that whole play was the phantom call. I'm like, whoa, that was rough. If you're gonna call that a hold, and tonight you could see Dallas, especially Heiskanen and his partner, his D partner, were pairing off on Celebrini, and they were holding him left and right. They
yeah,
called they called it one time, but I think that there were at least three times that you could have made something. Now, again, you're going to have a level of, you need to fight through it, right? And this officiating staff is for everybody on the ice, right? So it's not like there's just a total mismatch in the
mhm.
officiating. You would hope to think it would be leveled out. However, I thought that the referees were, I don't know, inconsistent. It's either you call it all or you don't call any of it. That's how I like.
Yeah, I think we're getting a taste of what other fan bases that also have had their top talent have had. Like I know that people have brought up when Sydney joined the league, so many dirty plays against him. We've seen it against McDavid, and now we're seeing against players like Celebrini. It is a kind of consistent thing of when you get these players that are just so much better. It seems like the refs seem to let a little bit more against them.
I mean, look, Bedard, I think, is facing it too, right? I think,
Yeah.
he's had, and we've seen, his upsets with the officiating, right? So there probably is a precedent somewhere in that officiating room to say, hey, look, don't let those young kids, upstage you. So, I feel like that might be part of it, right? I don't think that, they want to kind of set the law immediately. They don't want to allow players to have free abuse on the officials. So it could be part of it. but it was just something that kind of caught my eye in the evening's play. So that would be the only goal in that first period. And oh man, that power play, whew, Dallas is on fire at home, Tyler. Just I don't know what it is, man, but they seem to be able to move that puck down low real well. I don't know
Yeah.
why it's happened to be at home, but I just saw the down low play was very difficult for the Sharks. And we'll get to the defense, everybody. I know everybody wants to put Nick Leddy through the coals, and I do too, quite frankly. But I think the entire defense is miscast a little bit.
Oh yeah.
So I think that that's some more general discussion to have. But yeah, Nick had a horrible game tonight. Um, Clearly, the game has passed him by. I think at this point, that's what I'm seeing.
Yeah, I mean, I know that people are going to bring up that players have played longer than Nick Leddy has, but let's be honest, the percentage of players that can play beyond 30 in the NHL is not high.
The other question I have, and look, paint me out to be an asshole, and paint me out to be maybe a little bit callous, but I have a heart condition, right? I mean, I have in my heart in our family we have massive heart attacks at the age of like 65, right? And I have high blood pressure and cardiac distress runs in my family. So if there's anybody that can say this, should you really be playing hockey in a contact sport after you've had the kind of injury history that you had with Nick
I
Leddy
mean,
especially?
nobody's going to say that the NHL is fair. There are plenty of opportunity or plenty of times that players that probably could have made the NHL don't for whatever reason. And then even getting to the NHL is not fair. It's not like this is a cheap sport. So there's a certain amount of, yeah, issues with the body is something that does prevent players from playing. Look at all the short guys that don't get picked because we'd rather have the guy that's 6'3" than the guy that's 5'7". And then there's just the fact that, yeah, I mean, as with any other injury, you get your knee absolutely blown out, that affects your play. Of course, your heart's going to be a factor. So if you are having heart issues, yeah, there is certainly a lot to say. Is like maybe it's just time to retire.
And I hate to be the person that points that out, right? Because you never want to tell somebody, to hang up their skates. We want to treat players more than just chess pieces or domino pieces, right? It was Nick Leddy that had the defibrillator issue, right?
I am not too familiar. That's
I'm
why I was
pre-
kind of painting with a little bit more broader of strokes.
I thought
But
I thought it was Nick. Let me double check that, but
yeah, we'll,
I'm
we'll double check that. But in general, yeah,
oof,
if
yeah, it
if
just looks like
there's
the game
anybody
has
having heart issues, it's gonna
yeah, like
hamper your play. Um, and while we're double checking on that, first of all, I will call out the $2 super chat from Jerry. If you're able to bring that up, thanks for the awesome coverage as usual. Thanks so much, Jerry, and we hope to have your continued support for this channel. But yeah, there are a lot of factors that go into whether or not there's been multiple players that I know you want to call yourself an asshole. I definitely had no problem calling Klingberg out last
yeah,
broadcast.
I think he's got cardiovascular disease and he was hospitalized for it.
Okay.
So I'm just double checking, but
Yeah. I
so
mean,
so I mean circulation is important in this sport, right? So
yeah.
so I just wonder, if he's slowing down that much. I just hope it's not something else. That's
Well,
that's kind of
yeah.
where I was going with the whole conversation. So
No, and
all
I
right.
can certainly also relate. I have no problem talking about this. I also have a small heart defect. It's not exactly in my heart. It's more of a valve leading, or not the valve, the arteries leading to the heart. That I had something that when you're a baby and you have your
Ultrasound, right?
multiple parts and stuff like that connected to your mom still.
Yeah.
One of mine didn't completely dissolve, so I just have like
Uh,
this little flap in one of my arteries that occasionally, when I was under high stress, it would cause the heart to beat an additional time, and it, as I was getting older, it started affecting me more. And yeah, it's like as I got older, it got harder to play. I was just, I'd get winded more and stuff like that. And it was just something I let my coaches know. Like, I'm having issues with just being able to stay out for long periods of time. So it's something that affects it. And it's absolutely something that coaches need to take account. Um,
yeah.
I mean, he's still playing hockey at the NHL level, so I can't say that it affects him a lot, but I mean, it's still going to
Yeah.
be an effect.
Yeah. And so I guess we'll get into the second period, and then we'll kind of dovetail into the defenses in general. So in that second period, we only had one lone goal. Colin Graff, really, I mean, Colin has increased his game. eh, eh, every time I watch him, he seems as if he's adding more and more dimension to his game and a little bit more um, stick to itiveness on the puck. So
Yeah.
he's not only like generating more just because he's holding on to it a little bit more, but he's also seems to be a little bit more tenacious on the puck as well. And he
Yeah.
kind of drags his other line mates with him, down low, which I mean, Philip Korshev, right? What he's been playing at such a high level comparative to where he was last season.
Hmm.
Um, I think it has a lot to speak with Graf and just the kind of motor he is on the line.
I think the best comparison that I have for Graf is Stankoven. I mean, I
Mm,
know I watch Carolina hockey all the time, but I mean, when you look at the play style of both Stankoven and Graf, I would say they do have differences in their style. Graf or Stankoven is far more of I call him the honey badger, where he has no problem getting into the corners, which is not really Graf's play. But that aggressive forecheck and getting into high danger areas, they both have that play style, and it is wonderful. And I think the only thing that's really holding them back is, as much as I still like players like Wenberg, he is not the playmaker, really. That I think if we could get them a stronger center, a line with both Khrushchev and Graf could just flourish.
yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. A center would be good. I look at that miscast defense though, and I just see Dmitry Orlov playing, first pairing minutes. And don't get me wrong, I mean, he's a player that you need to have, but I saw a few different times tonight the play get just die on his stick. As soon as it hits his stick, he it's not if he doesn't have somebody to relieve the pressure very close to him, that play just dies.
Yeah.
So or he's not if he's not teeing it off from like the one timer on the back end, like literally that's kind of his couple of tricks that he's got in the tool bag, so to speak, or the magic bag. But yeah, like him paired with Klingberg being on the same defense and Nick Leddy being on the same defense, that's rough. That reduces your foot speed quite a lot.
Yeah. So heading into this year, there was already some massive questions for the defense. We picked up multiple players. I know that a lot of people were excited for like players like Orlov. Me watching us playing Carolina, I was a little skeptical, and I think we've seen some of that skeptical come true. Um, we don't have a lot of mobile defensemen at all.
Right.
Even Dickinson, he's not really known for being a mobile defenseman. It's not like he doesn't skate, but he's not a mobile defenseman. We don't have a lot of speedy D men. I can't think of one. Um,
I mean, Sam can he's I'd say an average skater. Well,
yeah,
let's go through the list, right? So, I mean, we got Orloff, I would say below average. You got Ferraro, I would say slightly below average, maybe average if you want to like squint your eyes. Um Dickinson, average to maybe slightly above average, just because he's young.
I'd say
Klingberg,
Dickinson's best aspect of his skating is he's got really good edge work, but he doesn't really use that long stride of his.
yeah.
If you watch, he takes long strides, but then will just use edge work to move around. But he doesn't power through when he skates.
Yeah. Then we get into Klingberg. I mean, I think he's definitely lost a step since his days in Dallas.
Yeah,
Um, you talk about Muka
Kling-
Medulin. I would say his skating is a work in progress. So yeah, I mean, I just feel like in general, there's not really a lot of strong skaters on the back end. There's not a Macklin Celebrini or a Will Smith type skater on the back end. They're just not.
no. The only player that I know that we probably could bring up, but again, we kind of know why he's not on this team is Cagnoni.
Right, right. Uh,
Unfortunately, having as many defensemen as we already have on the roster, we're not calling up Cagnoni right now.
yeah, we got some quotes in. Thank you, Puck Guy, and thank you, AJ, for manning the quote machine. Obviously, it's a good team. That's not a whole lot of space. Couldn't get inside much. Closed the lanes up and blocking shots. It got better as the game went on. This is Jeff Skinner. This is on the offensive struggles early. Let's see. Where else? We got
That was
any
the
other?
first quote that I saw. We had
Yeah.
another one just pop
Oh,
up, but
yep. Here we go. All right. We got ups and downs throughout the game. We had a little push middle part of that game, Skinner. Yeah, and I think that just generally echoes what we've said is just starting on time and just the team feeling like they kind of were sluggish getting into that first period.
it's weird that I think for most games we've been talking about the Sharks are one of two things. Either they start early and then they struggle to keep it up throughout the game, or they just don't show up for the beginning and then they are just playing catch up for the rest of it. And this was one of those catch up games. But like the last game, all their offense was early and then they just didn't have anything going. So, um, again, I don't know if that's changes in Warsofsky or if that's changes with who they're playing. But yeah, there's still that lack of consistency.
Yeah, consistency from shift to shift, consistency from period to period. We still see some very amateurish struggles when it comes to shift length and when it comes to being disciplined within your own blue line. They don't always stand up on the blue line as they should. Sometimes they can shy away from physical play. Overall tonight, I kind of just felt that Dallas wasn't really bothered by the Sharks
No.
in a very competitive way.
Yeah.
I felt like Dallas really just did whatever the hell they wanted. And Miko, I mean, especially in that third period, I mean, Miko just turned it on. I mean, he
Yeah.
was just a bull in the china shop in that third period. And I guess we gotta talk about the end of the game, right? So, so when that end of that game, Sam Steele would end up getting his fourth of the year. Petrovic and Rantanen, of course, getting the assists. Then Miko himself would score. That was pretty much the nail in the coffin. Johnson and Cole, oh man, Vladislav Koyachuknuk.
I'm not familiar with them, so I can't help you there.
And then Miro Heiskanen gets the empty netter, which was actually a nice little arc at the
Oh
end
yeah.
there. But
Yeah.
uh,
Towards the end, I think the Sharks just started taking more risks as they needed to get some offensive push, and they they got scored on instead.
yeah,
Not really much to say there.
yeah. I
Uh,
mean, high risk, high reward, right? I mean, that's
yeah,
that's what's going to happen in the third period when you're
bit of
trailing
a
like
weird
that.
a bit of a weird goal went in where it like somehow popped through Askarov, and then as he was trying to close his legs, went across the crease and in.
Yeah, yeah,
I
that one
don't
was a
know.
tough one. Yeah, the Sam Steele one was tough because you felt, when they got the goal, you felt as if, okay, they're starting to kind of get their legs a little bit. You could see the
Mhm.
team responding a little bit better. But when that goal went in the 13 minutes in that third period, that was it. They
Well,
were.
and there was the push that we got the goal from Celebrini that unfortunately came back, and we could probably talk to the cows come home about really this is still the offsides that we're talking about. I mean, it's literally 1 inch that he was offside,
Yeah, I mean, I think the
and
rule
it
the
was
rule
so
easily
long before the goal.
yeah, the rule could easily just be fixed as if the other team has and loses possession in their own zone, then offside should be disallowed.
Yeah, but unfortunately, there's just not much to talk about. Currently, that's the rule. We've seen
Yep.
it called all the time, and you got. I'm sorry that is a little bit on Kershev. If he was just kind of being a little lazy, you got to make sure the puck's in first.
And he has a tendency to do that sometimes. There are parts of the game in which he lets his mental focus go away.
Yeah,
And I think that's kind of what was the enigmatic part about his game last season. And I think he's got to really fight that, and he's got to really stay mentally engaged in the game. And if he does that, he's going to be a very good player. Okay, so they took advantage of their opportunities. Then obviously the game changed, and we had to play catch up, have a bit of a push, but just couldn't find one. Yeah, and then finally. I don't think the guys are satisfied if we just compete. We work towards getting wins.
yeah.
Um, yeah,
Well, and
and
I want to
then
bring up. Yeah, you're bringing up right now. Go ahead.
yeah, just go ahead. Yeah, Pachelka, San Jose Sharks are 13-7-1 when Celebrini has at least 1 point. They're 0-6-2 when he doesn't. Graf got one tonight, but the Sharks need for secondary scoring continues.
Well,
Yeah.
and I think this is what is really the real problem we're not, or the real reason we're not a playoff team, like a serious playoff contender, is if we are against a team that can shut down the first line, we struggle. Like everyone's saying, Smith and Celebrini, they didn't look good tonight. Toffoli didn't look good tonight. Uh, I mean, you're gonna get teams that they're gonna know. Okay, this is Macklin Celebrini. If you let him in, he'll score. Double team him.
Yeah.
And if the team is good enough, they'll be able to do it and shut him down. And if you've got a consistent defense that's able to do that, the Sharks are going to struggle because, yeah, sometimes we can get secondary scoring from our second line. I know the Wenberg and Graf and Kershev have gotten multiple goals on multiple nights, but I mean the stats speak for himself: 11-7-1 versus 0-6-2. If they are able to shut down our first line, we don't really have the teeth to get back.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely hitting the nail on the head there. It's like if the top line doesn't score or doesn't at least put two goals up, then it's very hard for this team to win, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if the top line is not consistently producing two goals, because on average, right, they'll win. What did they say? It's the first to three, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if 2/3 of your offense is coming from one line, that's
Yeah.
that's a little scary, right? That's a little bit of your eggs in one basket. Now, I will say this. I will say this. Misa's not here, right? So
Yeah.
that's a big part of the future of that second line. Um, but when Macklin and Smithy get really bogged down, this is when a guy like William Eklund needs to come in and needs to, you know, drive the ship a little bit more, because he's going to be your secondary star type player, or your secondary good type player who you need to add extra offense when the dynamic duo is not doing its thing.
Yep. Well, we go through this quote and then we can,
Wrap it up.
well, not quite wrap it up. There's a couple things that I think, especially stuff in like chat that we can talk about.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So I thought for the most part we battled, just a couple of mistakes, just didn't get the result, and we got to get back to the win column. That's from Colin Graff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think that's just about it for right now. We got coming in on the quote
Yeah, I
machine. We
think
might have a few
that's
more.
yeah. But like Barthez also said, talking about our second line being centered by a third liner. I know people were taking issue with me saying that Wenberg's not much of a playmaker. The problem is, Wenberg, I still like. I have no problem keeping Wenberg and extending Wenberg, but I agree, he's not a second line player. Part of me was laughing at other teams thinking that, oh, we could trade for Wenberg as a second liner. I'm like, you're not really getting a second line center there. He's a good player, but I think his defensive game is more of a strong suit than his offensive game. And when you're trying to have him be the center for Khrushchev and for Graf, I think he's getting outran.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. But I think as we talk about the depth of the team, right, and the lack of the depth, I am optimistic, with what we've got, cooking in the minors, right? A guy like Philip Beestead, if you can get him going, he could definitely turn into a third line center, a guy who could really drive play in the lower lines. A guy like Quentin Musty could be, a third line, second line type winger. Ethan Cardwell was another guy that I liked. I mean, Cam Lund, there's Chernishev. I mean, right, there's a bunch of guys that are percolating. So, I think that's part of being ahead of schedule, is that you
Mhm.
start to see, okay, kind of what you got cooking, what's going on right now on the big club. So how do you augment for the future going forward, and allowing enough space to let the kids percolate through? And I think that
Yeah,
that's kind of the balance. And I think that the team needs to maybe jettison a veteran or two to make a little bit more space.
I certainly think that we're going to be sellers at the deadline. I know people talked about, oh, we can buy at the deadline, make the playoffs and stuff like that. I'm like, I don't really see the point. We aren't looking for long term contracts because we already have a little of a bottleneck on players that we already want to move up. We talk about Musty, we talk about Chernyshov. Like, it's starting to look like, okay, depending on how these players really fill in with this roster, we might be looking at moving a couple of offensemen too, not just defensemen, sooner rather than later. Because, okay, if Chernyshov and Musty turn into what we want them to be, that's a first and a second liner. Like, Chernyshov probably is going to end up being like he might be the Toffoli replacement on the first line as soon as next year. And then if Musty's able to, continue what he's been doing in the AHL, I mean, are we looking at those are kind of going to be turning into our solutions for our weaknesses on the first and second line?
Yeah.
And then we got Misa, so there's our second line center. Well, what then happens to players like we have Eklund, so we already kind of have a top six, and then what happens beyond that? Skinner and Wenberg and Khrushchev. Where does Khrushchev end up if we already have that as our top six?
Right.
So there's a lot that we have young players that agree with GMNG here that Chernyshov and Musty, they needed time in the AHL.
Yeah. Well, and Beestead too. I think Beestead.
And Beestead, Lund,
Yeah.
Cagnoni, I kind of wish was on the roster, but it's not like it hurts his game being in the
Right.
AHL this year.
All right. Let's run
Um,
through these quotes real quick, and
sure.
you happen to talk about the young kids. So here's another young kid, and he got a little bit more perspective on the game tonight. Today there were some good things in creating chances. I think we've been playing well and just creating chances. I got a lucky bounce from Delandria and from Khrushchev, and was just able to bang one home. That was Colin. Okay, we got a lot of fast guys on this team. Skate and get pucks deep for the net game, for the next game. Yeah, well, I think they should listen to you, kid. You might be onto something. All right, Warski. All right, so we had chances, two power plays, couldn't get anything out of them. Momentum or nothing.
Yeah.
Agreed, agreed. And the allowing that power play goal was unfortunate.
Yeah.
Um, so I think definitely kind of lost the state of the
Well,
special
and
teams.
we need to talk about one other aspect that's really holding us back on not just the power play, but it's a massive aspect for our power play, but just our offense in general. Our zone entry sucks. And if you have bad zone entry on the power play, you're not producing anything.
They let the opposing blue line stand them up a lot of
Yeah.
nights.
Well, and the problem is, unless it's Celebrini or somebody, pushing it themselves, we don't really have zone entry that's controlled because our defense is not the best at handling the puck.
Ding 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 ding. Somebody chime in an offensive defenseman.
Yep. And so, unless we're having this massive effort from some of our young players, like I think Eklund is typically or no, he's on the first power play. I'm not really sure who's the offensive driver on power play too. It just we can't get into position to really set up for our power plays. But then when we're set up, we're normally pretty decent.
Yeah, Warsaw a little bit more. We let them get to our net, and that's the story of our season. Well, why don't you do something about it? Anything better than a 7-1 loss is an improvement. Still a lot of work to do.
I
Yeah,
mean,
well,
you're not wrong.
Captain
And
Obvious.
let's be honest, the game was a little bit closer than the end score kind of insinuates.
Yeah, and we take 2 penalties, and it doesn't help, and we couldn't win a puck battle either. Warsawski on the first period.
That's true.
Liljegren off camera presser took responsibility for the game winning goal. Got to be better. Well, I mean, it's nice that you take some responsibility from it, but still, guys,
Is
I mean,
is it because was he the one that was in front when the puck was just moving across the crease?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, there's been a couple times where the Sharks stick placement's probably not ideal.
yeah.
I don't think he was in a terrible place, but he just kind of wasn't doing anything at the time. So yeah, you kind of wish that he'd been backing up Askarov there. I've seen players they'll like shove their stick right behind the goalie's pads to make sure if anything can't squeak by. So maybe something like that. I don't think that was really the biggest issue because he wasn't in a bad position.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, let's wrap this thing up and let's head off and I don't know, go watch a movie or something.
Was that? Oh, this game was that Ferraro? Maybe I don't know. Um,
All right. Well, in case you missed it, catch Steel Town USA everywhere. And if you missed the show and you want to hear it again, check us out on the YouTube Rewind. Of course, like, subscribe, hit the bell. You'll know you get now notified after every single Sharks game we go live. Of course, if there's any Sharks news that gets broken, we'll fix it. And then, of course, if you want to check us out on the podcast, you can check us out on Apple Podcasts, the YouTube Music Store. I can never get that one right. SoundCloud, Spotify, TuneIn, iHeart, and Odyssey, and then always on tealtownusa.com. Well, sir, let you have the floor with your final thoughts and where the people can find you.
well, final thoughts is despite everything that's going on, especially in the last few games, the team is looking a lot better this year. They're still getting plenty of opportunities. Just hoping some of them stop getting called back. That'd be nice. And I'm really looking forward to kind of what happens later in the season. I'm really interested in what happens during the trade deadline. Where they plan to go with the roster as is, and it will definitely be an indicator for what we plan to do for next year.
Yeah, yeah, that's for sure. As far as where, as far as my final thoughts go and where the people can find me, first off, I guess my final thoughts are yes, this is the first time people are seeing me with glasses. I joined the crew. The stigmatism finally caught up to me on my right eye, so there you go.
Yeah, I just don't wear the glasses I'm supposed to.
Yeah, that I find myself doing that quite a bit, but I'm still 20/40 vision without them, so it's still pretty darn good. But that right eye, just the stigmatism, just kind of all out of whack.
It's a
So,
less for me.
anyways, Yeah, at Eric Landy is where you can find me across all the social media garbage, and we'll be at you after the next game. So enjoy your weekend, and yeah,
We are not forgetting the CUDA. We're just going to be watching it now.
yeah, exactly. Go Cuda! They're currently up 1-0, so hopefully they'll hang on to the win, and we can talk about something more appealing than the Sharks' loss. All right, everybody. So, as we like to say here, keep it real, keep it teal, keep it real teal, and we'll catch you on the next one.